I am joined here with my co-host Raiderman, as well as a buddy that I have met on the set of Axanar, Derek Allen, and he introduced me to a wonderful organization called Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Association. He's joining us this evening to give us a little information, also to answer some questions about said organization. Welcome aboard, Mr. Allen.
What's happening? How's it going, guys?
Let's start off with the simplest question that probably has the most complicated answer. What exactly is Starfleet?
Starfleet is a fan club for Star Trek based around all of the television shows and movies. It's been around for 40 years.
Oh, goodness.
They celebrated their 40th anniversary last year, and they're a really fun organization to be a part of. They have regional and international conferences. They had an international conference a few years ago that was in Niagara Falls. They've had them in Texas and in Chicago. They will have them all over the country for members to go ahead and attend. And you can also view those conferences on the web. Being around for 40 years, Starfleet has an academy where you can take fun exams, where you can test your knowledge on all kinds of science fiction things, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to Zardoz. And they also have other real-world tests, like for language, economics, medicine. If you want to join Starfleet, and let's say you want to become a flight surgeon like I am, you can take exams based on your medical knowledge. They have manuals for you, and you can also find information online at different wikis or different sites to find out this information. And then you answer the questions and qualify to become a medical officer. You can also take those other exams for flight training, asking questions about how an aircraft flies and stays aloft, and how you can bank, turn, yaw, roll, that sort of thing. And you can combine those two exams to become a flight surgeon. You can also take courses in special ops at the Marine Corps Academy. So there are a lot of different little things that exams you can take, and you will then be given not only Starfleet ranks, but military occupational specialties, or MOS jobs. So you can become a sniper, you can become an engineer, you can become a communications officer, anything you want, as long as you take the right exams and let your commanding officer know which exams you've been taking, so that he can make sure that that's in your record. And
to my knowledge, you yourself are a commanding officer of a chapter in Greater Los Angeles area?
In Long Beach, that's right, the USS Stephen Hawking. We are a time displacement vessel, so we are actually modeled off of a ship that you will find in Star Trek canon.
Would this happen to be a certain temporal science vessel from Star Trek Online by any stretch of a chance?
The Wells class.
It is the Wells class, and it was also in the Voyager episode Relativity, which is the name of the ship that is in Voyager. So they do time and temporal missions across the timelines, making sure that those timelines stay intact. One of the people that they dislike the most is Captain James T. Kirk, because he always, almost continuously, messes up timelines. They also don't quite like Captain Janeway either, because of the same reasons. They're always trying to fix up things that they seem to have messed up in certain timelines.
The difference is Kirk seems to do it on purpose, and Janeway always does it by accident.
More than likely, yes. Exactly.
James T. Kirk. 17 different temporal violations. The biggest file on record. Man was a menace.
And what was James T. Kirk's first rule of time travel?
Does he have one?
I don't think he does.
I would like to think it's one word. Don't.
And then do it.
That's more Janeway's, I think.
The only time he seemed gotten it right was by going on the voyage home and rescuing some whales.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, he messed things up. He let Scotty go ahead and introduce transparent aluminum before it was actually invented.
Why can't we use that now?
It's actually they've actually invented it. They have a transparent type of plexiglass that's stronger than steel.
Now, how does that weigh? Would that be something that might potentially work for a spacecraft to reduce the weight of the viewing ports?
Yes, I believe that it would, although I don't know what its actual weight would be per square inch. So I do remember reading recently that they have developed such a thing.
We'll definitely keep our eyes out for that. Toward the end of every RadiOdyssey program, we always delve into there's a wonderful site we go to, which is called Futurism, that always has these weekly released articles on advancements in science and technology. So we always delve into those and get all the juicy information on that. Our favorite subject so far is 3D printing.
I was just going to say 3D printing is awesome. They're using it for medical applications now. They can grow ears.
They can grow body parts. They can grow organs, and the one that always tickled my fancy is they have a 3D printer on the International Space Station. So instead of when they need a special tool or part that's like small, instead of sending up a devoted launch vehicle for it, they basically email the part.
Yeah, it's magnificent technology. So I'm going to have to get that email address for you because on Facebook, the Hawking is primarily a correspondence chapter. We correspond with all of our members, usually using Facebook. And I've created several pages on Facebook for our members to add information to when they run across it. One is a media page, one is for our charities, and another one is for science type things exclusively. So I'll have to get that email address from you so that I can go ahead and look that up and post things to the Science Probe.
And we will also, on the RadiOdyssey Facebook page shortly after this program, we will post the links to the open Facebook pages. There are, of course, closed pages for the chapter for the members in it, but there are also pages for visitors to get a look-see in that. So I'll go ahead and post that. In the meantime, tell us about this particular chapter. How large is it?
We don't have one of the largest chapters. I've got about 20 members spread out throughout the country. A lot of them are local because I'm meeting people all the time in the greater Los Angeles area. So about 20 members right now is how large we are. When a chapter wishes to be created, it's called a shakedown period. And during that shakedown period, which usually lasts a year, it's a training process for the commanding officer and for those members who are in the chapter. It is required for you to have 5 members to start a chapter, and we started off with 20. I've lost a few members. The guys in the Netherlands that I used to have didn't feel like participating any longer, which is really sad. I loved having members in foreign countries. So we've got members in Peru.
Oh, it's always sad when people step away, unfortunately. But one of those 20 members also happens to be yours truly. Thanks to our wonderful guest here. He introduced me, and I guess I said the right things. And with the space history program I do, his eyes lit up like that red alert sign you see on the Enterprise. It's just like, oh my God.
I think they kind of lit up like a dilithium matrix inside of a warp
Laser
engine.
beams.
Quite so. And as such, there is a very wonderful event that will be happening in, let's see, about a week and a half, I believe. It is April 9th. And you can probably explain that event a little better than me, too. What is this wonderful event?
We'll be celebrating Yuri's Night a couple of days early than the actual flight that Yuri Gagarin took to be the first man to orbit the Earth. But every year, Yuri's Night is celebrated all over the world. In fact, it is celebrated everywhere but Russia. And
well, to my knowledge, Russia has their own national holiday for that day that was even started when he was still alive.
Yes, they do. And I think there are a couple of cities named after him there as well.
The city that he was raised in, not the one he was born in, but he was raised in. I'm forgetting the name of the city originally, but they renamed to Gagarin in honor of him after he died.
Yes, they did. And we celebrate his achievement by having, here in LA, we have a big shindig at the California Space Center where we will be partying underneath the Space Shuttle Endeavour.
And that will be awesome.
It will be. I went last year and I was so taken with what was going on that I volunteered for the startup committee. And Yuri's Night is one of the two charities that we endorse on the Stephen Hawking. This year, our guests will include Robert Picardo, the doctor from Voyager. The lovely and talented Nichelle Nichols will be there.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
And we will have astronaut Buzz Aldrin, one of the gentlemen who made that trip on July 20th, 1969.
I believe, was her name, I could be wrong about the first name, was it Samantha Cristoforetti?
Yes, that's correct. Samantha Cristoforetti is currently the woman who holds the record for the most time in orbit over a year. She's also the first person to ever have an espresso in orbit. And she is a big, huge Star Trek fan. If you look up her name or image on Google, you will see an image of Samantha in orbit on the ISS in her Starfleet uniform. I will be asking her to join our chapter.
I believe in that picture she is in the cupola module looking out at the Earth at the time.
She is.
Also, if you're to visit the ESA website, the European Space Agency, they have a you have to follow a few links, but I'm also going to post the proper link on the Facebook as well. That is a virtual tour of the International Space Station, taken from multiple picture angles, so you can actually explore the whole thing. But in each module, there's a little play button to where you can get a video description of a certain part. And Miss Cristoforetti is the one in each of those videos.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite resources of all time. You can really see all the, these are friggin', it is compiled of multiple, they have to be like 1200 DPI images from all angles in each module, compiled together as a panorama that you can manipulate and zoom any way you wish. You can see the nuts and bolts in the hull plating. This thing is beautiful. I love it.
Well, I believe that Samantha is actually a major in the Italian Air Force. So, Captain of Major, I believe.
That is awesome as well. Well, we can certainly ask her that question.
Yes, we can. Or I'm sure you'll be able to find her information on those websites, but we'll be able to ask Samantha quite a few questions.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to be able to get some recorded interviews from Yuri's Night, so hopefully we can get them on RadiOdyssey as well. The mere thought of getting some interview time potentially with Buzz Aldrin just has me shaking in my boots.
Careful there. We'll have to put you on a tether so you don't float off out of our grasp.
I think that's going to be.
This man has been trying to get a one-on-one with Buzz Aldrin for quite some time, and it would just absolutely make his decade if he managed to do this. And I see him grinning and nodding like a bobblehead doll. 2 words, decaf, sir, decaf.
Well, I think that's going to be a little bit more than possible since we're volunteering for the event. I believe that there is a certain time of day where if we show up on time, we will have opportunities to speak with some of these guests. Samantha will be the keynote speaker. Last year was the first year I went, and I became actually aware of this person when she delivered a worldwide hello to Yuri's Knights all over the world from the space station via video recording.
So that was pretty much on the 40th anniversary of the International Fan Association, right there.
And as I pointed out to the committee for Yuri's Night, this will be the 15th anniversary for Yuri's Night. That whole international celebration was started 15 years ago this year.
There's a lot of great anniversaries going on. Are there any plans for the USS Stephen Hawking chapter regarding the 50th anniversary Star Trek convention in Las Vegas?
Well, I know that there are a few people in the chapter who are going, and they'll be able to go ahead and submit reports based upon what it is that they have encountered. Right now, I don't have any specific plans for an away mission. But like I said, I know that you're going, Rex, and we'd definitely like to hear whatever it is that you've come back with from that particular away mission. I look forward to seeing your report.
Yeah, my primary function there, to my knowledge, will be as part of Cymax Media, or at the very least promoting RadiOdyssey. I do intend on going all 5 days, so I'm hoping to have multiple outfits, because one of the golden rules of attending a multi-day convention: have more than one outfit and keep it clean.
That's right.
That means no messy fast food, no messy french fries with grease, no messy burgers with lettuce, tomatoes, all the trimmings, no super saucy or greasy pizza. In other words, cook your own food and watch your clothing.
Also, you want to make sure you don't spill any Romulan ale on it. Otherwise, you'll smell like a space drunk.
Yeah, that too. So buy the drinks and be careful, because some stuff does stain even if it's on dark colors.
So you mentioned the Starfleet Academy as part of the association, but it also goes much deeper than that. As I understand, there's even uniform regulations and a multitude of ribbon awards that aren't just given out. You have to earn these darn things, and enough that to even fill an Air Force chart.
Yes, there are. There is a requisite that we have on the Hawking. You have to be a Starfleet Marine. Now, as you know, Starfleet Marines aren't really canon unless you are counting the Makos that were in Star Trek Enterprise.
Which I actually liked that idea, by the way. I liked how they had a military service separate from Starfleet. They never addressed that in the show until that point. Basically,
Starfleet, the International Fan Association, recognized two things that they needed to do. There are a lot of military personnel who are involved in Starfleet, and they realized that they needed to acknowledge that. So what they did was they found another group that billed themselves as the Starfleet Marines and incorporated them into Starfleet. In this manner, you have a way for people to have their rank in a more military fashion. You know, it's primarily the Navy that uses commander, lieutenant commander, ensign, ranks like that. And the rest of the military uses the more conventional terms such as colonel. Hi, I'm Colonel Allen. Major, captain means something completely different than somebody who commands your ship. And all of the enlisted personnel, your privates, your sergeants, and the people who get things done. So Starfleet Marines are in that category. And the reason that, as a commanding officer, I insist that everybody be either an active Marine or a Marine reservist is so that they can take advantage of being a Starfleet Marine, wearing devices or ribbons that are awarded for some of the exams that you can take at the Starfleet Marine Corps Academy, which is separate from the Starfleet Academy itself. So if you were to, let's say, recently I awarded 4 members a Good Conduct Award, which means you've been a member for 3 years consecutively. You'll find that in a lot of military and police organizations where there's a hashtag on your uniform, let's say, and that is represented by a ribbon that you can wear as a Starfleet Marine, and then further years are given little stars on that ribbon. So I currently now have a ribbon and 1 silver star for being in for 6 years.
Talk about longevity. I'd like to think you'd have plenty of years of service to make colonel already, but you rose pretty quickly.
Yes, there are certain reasons for that. But when you become the president of your chapter, you're a commanding officer of that chapter, and the chapters are named after starships. You then, through that shakedown process, become captain. You become the captain of that ship or the president of that chapter. So even though I became colonel before we started the Hawking, I am given that rank for being its commanding officer.
And I would imagine that rank promotions are not arbitrary. They must also be earned, whether it be by position or by achievements and conduct as well.
Yes, they are. But as in every organization, some rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah.
And some rules are meant to be bent. Personally, one of the clashes that I used to have with my former commanding officer was he insisted upon a strict, very strict regiment for getting advancement. He has a lot of ensigns and lieutenants on his crew. That's a good thing, but there are a lot of clubs out there that you don't have to spend an annual fee on. Starfleet starts off at about $10 a year, but you've got a lot of perks that go along with that. They're actually well within their right to ask for that amount. And when you think about it, $10 a year is less than 50 cents a month.
I know, right?
Well, am I right?
Well, I mean, what? No, it's not. Yeah, it's not less than 50 cents. It's more like, say, 90 cents a month.
90 cents a month, exactly. So, it's actually worth it. But there are a lot of clubs that don't charge anything. And with all of the different perks that you get, I would, let's see. Let me tell you a couple that I know of that I can think of right offhand.
Yuri's Night, for one.
Well, Yuri's Night is something that the Hawking is doing. You can celebrate Yuri's Night any way that you like.
But I mean, like But I mean, invited to the shindig under the shuttle.
Well, again, that's something that I've gotten our crew members into because I'm involved with the committee to put Yuri's Night together. So I asked if my crew members if they'd like to volunteer. Members that said that they'd like to volunteer are going to work for a little while, but they also get into the shindig for free. That is kind of a perk, definitely. But Starfleet as an organization has other perks. Let's say that you're going to go to the International Convention in Milwaukee. Well, Starfleet has, let's see, Red Roof Inn, Motel 6. You get discounts on getting rooms at these places. In fact, Rex, if you had actually gone into the website, I don't know if you've booked your room for Las Vegas or not yet, but there are several hotels that you can get a discount on just by giving them your number that is available on the website that gives you a group discount. It gives, since we're a big, huge international club, we have discounts based upon that sort of thing. For Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise, get it?
Yeah.
And there's a 15% discount on cosplay clothes that you can wear. Let's see, Cosplay Sky is out of China, but they recreate several different kinds of cosplay uniforms for Star Trek fan clubs. So there are a bunch of different perks that you can get. Plus, you also get your membership packet that includes your certificate and your membership card and your password to the database and access to Starfleet Academy and the Starfleet Marine Corps Academy. So you get quite a bit for your $10 a year.
And you also figure with that membership fee, the association can also attribute that to not only further expanding the association, but expanding the range of not just perks, but activities and events that it can run to make it a more broader and more fun group to be part of.
Indeed. And they also have a couple of scholarship programs where you can actually say, well, you know what, I want to give part of my membership to the LeVar Burton Scholarship, or part of it to the Patrick Stewart Scholarship. There are a few scholarships where they give a little bit of money that they have in the scholarship fund to people who meet those requirements for education as a student. So there are a bunch of different kinds of scholarship programs as well they provide for their members.
Okay, so here's a good question. So what would be if someone wanted to search for whatever their local chapter was, or join the fan association, how would they go about it?
Well, if you go to www.sfi.org, you will come upon the Starfleet website. On that website, there will be a couple of drop-down menus and a couple of click links that will allow you to join Starfleet. There is another one that asks if you want to search for your local chapter.
Uh-huh.
You go ahead and you click on that link, and you'll be able to get a list of all of the chapters that are in the various regions throughout the world. There are a couple of regions that don't have chapters, but I think those regions are like Africa. I know that there's European. I know that there are Australian chapters. I know that there are Asian chapters, but you'll be able to go ahead and look up just where a chapter near you is. There are two kinds of chapters. There's the meeting chapter, where you actually get together with other members and have a meeting either once or once every other month. And then there are correspondence chapters like the Hawking, where you interact with people via the internet, via Skype, also with Facebook. One of the local meeting chapters here in Los Angeles is known as the USS Angeles. And last year I was invited to their 20th anniversary party. They have been a chapter for 20 years.
Goodness.
It was an amazing little get together. They had this great video that they produced that showed them throughout those 20 years. You could see some of the members who have been part of it for 20 years kind of changing and growing and everything. It was really very cool. I really liked it. And so they'll go on away missions. I've seen them on away missions to Disneyland, to the California Science Center, various places around Los Angeles. As you know, the Japanese Tea Garden in LA is the actual site where they filmed the Starfleet Academy scenes for the Next Generation. So they actually went to this place because it had such a futuristic and very cool look to it that they used it as the location for Starfleet Academy in the television program.
And that is where we met the incomparable Boothby.
Exactly. That's where you met Boothby. And what happens is you have different regions. And our vessel is part of Region 4, Battalion 4, and that includes California, Nevada, Arizona, and Hawaii. Okay? So every year, almost every year, there is to be a regional conference where the members in that region can go and get together and meet with one another. We went to one a couple of years ago, and it was fantastic. It was amazing just to hang out with other people that you may have been communicating with or seeing on Facebook or through emails and such. And this gentleman named Mark Cushman wrote a book a few years ago. He's written, actually, it's a volume. It's a 3 volumes called "These Are the Voyages."
Oh, I know about that. That's I believe Axonar was promoting that for a while as well.
Yes, I do believe that was part of their package. And Cushman has written 3 volumes, and I'm holding volume 1 in my hand right now. And it has a foreword by John D.F. Black, who was one of the writers for the original series of Star Trek. And he was at our regional conference 2 years ago, and we've got 2 signed volumes by Cushman and Black and his wife here at our house. So that's just the first. We got the first volumes. We're trying to follow that up with getting volumes 2 and 3. But that was one of the really great perks for belonging to the club and everything. Oh, and here's something you may not know. So a year ago, 2 years ago now, when did Star Trek Into Darkness come out?
Oh my gosh, we're going on like 3 years, I think.
At the time, we were living in San Francisco, and the commanding officer of the USS Golden Gate used to work for Entertainment Weekly. He has been involved with Star Trek for more than 15 years, and he knows a lot of people. He was contacted by Paramount, and they asked him if he could get some of his members together who would be dressed in Starfleet uniforms so that they could go to a meet and greet with some of the stars of Star Trek Into Darkness. We all went. It was a Microsoft event. Microsoft and Paramount got together, and they introduced us to Simon Pegg, John Cho, and Alice Eve. We all got to have our individual pictures taken with them, and then the Paramount photographers asked us if we would all get together for one big shot of all of us in red and gold and blue uniforms. Now, it was my impression that these stars, even though they had been going to promotions for the movie for that month or so that they'd been doing it, it seemed to me that they had never seen so many people in uniform at one time. At one point during the photo shoot, Alice Eve photobombed us. And it was such a great shot that they asked the stars if they wouldn't mind getting into the photograph with us. At that point, John and Simon slid down on the ground, and kind of posed in that, really cool, hey, we're with these guys type of thing. And they asked Alice if she wanted to get down on the floor too to pose with us, but she had on this really cute black mini dress, and she wasn't going to just get down on the floor. So she came up and she put her hand on my shoulder for the shot, very casually, very, hey, all right. And so during one of the photos, I hammed it up a little bit and kind of turned my head towards her, looking at her like all dreamy, like, oh, wow, the star is right here. And that image showed up everywhere. It showed up on the internet. It showed up on the cover of the we have a every other month we have a magazine that comes out as a newsletter called the Starfleet Communique, and I wrote an article for that, and we submitted that image. So that photograph on a magazine cover went out to all of the members who were paying for getting that paper copy of the communique. And it was just a really great time. But we got that because we were all had uniforms. If you didn't have a uniform, you weren't asked to come to the meet and greet, okay? We got to see the film in 3D for free, and we got a chance to interact with the stars. David Nottage is the commanding officer, he's an admiral of the USS Golden Gate in San Francisco. Like I said, he has a lot of different connections. And one of the smartest things that David had ever done was he made sure that whenever you looked up a Starfleet chapter or fan club, for that matter, in San Francisco on Google, that his chapter pops up first thing. Okay? So you type in Starfleet or Star Fan Club under a Google search for San Francisco, and the USS Golden Gate will be the first one to pop up. And there are about 3 chapters up there, okay? David was approached probably about 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago. He was approached by a company that wanted to do a commercial, and he was asked if he knew anybody who had a Klingon outfit. And he did, because he's the commanding officer of the USS Golden Gate. He knows everybody. And he called myself and my friend Ben, who is my Marine Corps officer for the USS Stephen Hawking right now, and we were in an international commercial about 2 years ago. You can actually see this commercial on Facebook. I'm sorry, on YouTube. You can see the commercial on YouTube. It was for the iPhone 5C. And if you type that in and you go and see the image of the two Asian women dressed in pink and blue wigs, we are in that commercial as Klingons. They played this commercial for the keynote speaking of Apple that year, and the crowd went wild. You heard just about everybody say, "Did you see the Klingons? Did you see the Klingons?" And so, as a totally aware Star Trek fan like I am, I had an application on my iPad that is the Klingon dictionary and phrase book, and I made sure that my friend and I were speaking authentic Klingon because I knew that there'd be some fanboy somewhere that said, "They aren't speaking Klingon. That doesn't mean a damn thing." Well, so I looked up two phrases that I thought that the director would like.
I see where this is going.
Klingons do not say hello when they're answering a communication. So, Ben, if you get a chance to see this commercial, and like I said, if you look it up on YouTube, type in iPhone 5C, when you see the two Asian ladies, that's our commercial. When you see the Klingons, they are speaking Klingon, and Ben says, "What do you want?" But my question is much more important. I demand to know, where do you keep the chocolate?
Yeah. I found the video. I paused it where you appear. You're not wearing a Klingon uniform, mister.
No, sir, I am wearing a Starfleet uniform. I'm a Starfleet Klingon. Caradnella is my alter ego, and he decided that he'd leave the Empire so that he could study medicine with Starfleet. He felt that even though it was maybe a good day to die, it might be a better day tomorrow when you can take more of your enemy with you if you lived through that day.
So the easiest way to find it is type in iPhone Klingon. And it's the first result.
There you go. Well, bam. There you go. The first result right there. And yeah, so we were in that commercial because A, we had uniforms, B, we had Klingon outfits, and C, we were members of the Starfleet International Fan Association. So that commercial kind of paid for my trip to move to Southern California. And it was, it's been really great for me in Starfleet down here, to tell you the truth. Not just being the CEO of the Hawking, but just from all of the different things that I've been able to participate with that mantle of being a Starfleet member down here. So Yuri's Night was one of those things.
There's just a lot. Is it expensive to live in LA? Absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying. But with that expense comes the greater availability of the resources that LA has to offer, especially Hollywood. And when it comes to fan associations that are of a property that depends on Hollywood, sometimes it's good to be within reach of that, especially for conventions and events that happen at the various locations like the LA Convention Center, Anaheim, Long Beach Convention Center. So it is a perk of being in LA, having that access.
Most definitely. Rex, I don't think we would have met if it weren't for the fact that we were both at Axanar at the same time, helping them move from one location to another. But they needed help. We were available. And I came through there via the fan club. One of the members was hooked up with Axanar, and we support Axanar at the fan club. And it's just, in fact, you'll be able to go into the database and you can look up all of these different magazines, the communique, like I told you about. They're all on PDF forms. The $10 membership gives you the electronic version. A $20 membership gives you the actual magazine. And I've found sometimes having the magazine is more advantageous. I've gotten there's a magazine that highlights Axanar, and I've had that signed by Alec Peters and by Richard Hatch.
Ooh.
So, yeah, you can't just have a PDF signed, but a nice paper version you can.
You have a question,
I have a
Raider?
question, if I may.
Go ahead.
The magazine, this is the bibliophile in me, the person who likes books, asking mind. The magazine, good quality paper stock on that magazine, yes?
Yes, sir. The new version the old version used to be like a newspaper. The new version is more like a magazine. High gloss covers, full color.
The kind of paper that I can handle repeatedly and over many, many years, like, I don't know, one of those Star Wars encyclopedias, for example.
It's thick magazine type paper. It's not newsprint.
But it's sufficiently better, though, yes?
Oh, yes. It's a genuine magazine now. Let's see. I've got a copy of it here.
About how many? About how large? How many pages?
Let's see. It's about 26 to 30 pages.
So it's got about the consistency of an average volume of a comic book.
Yes, about the average consistency of comic book. The inside is usually black and white, but the outside is full color. It's a magazine size, a standard magazine size. I've got it next to a Rolling Stone magazine, and the width is just a little larger than a standard magazine. So it's very good quality. I mean, I started actually paying the extra money, the $20, so that I could have it in my hand, because you never know what's going to be on the cover this year or this month.
You never know when it's suddenly not going to be there again.
Well, you can always access it online as a PDF. You could have the PDF printed, but not with this quality. You could go to Kinko's if you want to, but, you know...
I'd rather have the physical memento in my hand. Something that I could say, yes, I have this, I did this, I read that, or I played that. Example being my passkey fob for Star Wars The Old Republic here. I have it. I could say, yes, I played this game. I have physical proof I played this game.
Yeah, it's nice to have an official copy that was actually created in a printing press in high volume rather than
and it's a
quick
physical
print.
memento.
Yeah,
that is true. And like I said before, I've been able to have my physical copies signed by real people. You know, it may not mean much to anyone else but me, but I've got a copy signed by Richard Hatch.
Hey, all that matters.
I am very familiar with Richard Hatch. He was on the original. I forget the years it aired, and this shows the original Battlestar Galactica, and I believe he might have been on the reimagined series, I think.
He was on the original Battlestar Galactica in 1979, and the reboot of Galactica from, I'm forgetting the dates on that. It was mid-2000s.
2003,
and I believe he played Tom Zarek, I think, and I'm pretty sure I mispronounced the last name.
No, Tom Zarek is correct. Let's see. This weekend I was at WonderCon.
And I remembered that off memory for the record. So
very good. Very good. I was at WonderCon this last weekend, and I was helping Alec Peters' girlfriend with her new project, Supergirl Unburdened, and that was a really great experience. They asked me to help her out and gave me a 3-day pass. So you see all of these people there. You know, the guy who played Boomer from the original series, he was there. The guy who played Apollo.
I'm blanking on his name too. I know he was in. He had a small bit in Renegades.
Right.
I'm spacing on the name, and I know it.
You do, so you'll have to go ahead and look it up real quick. Please do.
I would, except my cat has decided to take up residence on my chest, so...
I'm
Hang
on.
Food, Internet Database.
Yeah, you can edit it in later then. But let's see. He was there, and Richard was there, and so I was chopping it up with Richard for a few minutes, right? And I was taking. I love taking pictures at cons. I love taking pictures of people in their cosplay outfits because that takes a lot of time to put these things together, and you can't go to a convention and ask somebody to take their picture and have them snub you. They want to have their photos taken. It's great. So, and it's great for your ego because you're like,
publicity for that.
To answer the question, the actor's name was Herbert Jefferson Jr.
Correct. I wanted to say one of his names started with Herbert. I couldn't remember which one.
Back to the photographs subject, it's publicity for them. It's free publicity at that. Takes not even 10 seconds under ideal conditions.
Well, and that's part of the great thing. So I'm on Friday, just before I'm leaving, I'm chopping it up with Richard. Because of Axanar, because of helping Axanar at various conventions last year, I was able to kind of spend some time with him and get to know him as a regular guy, right? After the Long Beach convention, we all went to dinner. So that was kind of cool. He had a lot of questions about being a Klingon that Jonathan Lane and I were able to give him a little bit of insight into, since he had never really checked out Star Trek as much as he'd been involved.
Never insult the Klingon's honor. Never insult his honor.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're asking for a bat left to someplace very unpleasant if you do. And that's if you're lucky. That's or very lucky. He's feeling generous.
Or a duck tog to the groin with a twist.
Ah.
Where the sun don't shine. That's.
It's gonna shine now once that thing digs a hole.
Ow.
But this to me was really strange, trippy, freaked out, because when I went to go and chop it up with Richard, I told him, I said, you know, I just finished watching the scene where Tom Zarek is executed in Battlestar Galactica, the reimagining from 2003.
When what's his name? When Gata.
Yes.
His legs finally stop itching. Or his stumps. Yes. His stumps, rather.
His stump finally stops itching. And I said to him, hey, you know, I saw that, and you know, Tom Zarek kind of really deserved that. He executed the quorum of 12, right? And Richard had a really great comeback. I can't even go into how detailed he was, but he was so thoroughly convinced that Tom Zarek was doing the right thing because Adama and
Rosalind
were totally oppressing the people. And he was just giving it to me with both guns. And you know, we laughed about it and everything. He, like I said, he really felt that Tom Zarek was in the right for everything that he did, including the execution of his friends on the quorum.
It's really getting method when an actor feels his character is right, even when the show portrays him as wrong.
That was him. That was Richard, and And so I'm getting ready to leave the convention. I'm walking down the same aisle where Richard has his booth, but further, several yards away. And again, I've just been finishing watching the reimagining Battlestar Galactica on Hulu when I'm walking away, leaving the convention, and who passes me right by? Edward James Olmos. And I go, oh, hey, Edward James Olmos. And he turns and looks at me and waves goodbye as he rushes down the hallway. I think he was ready to use the restroom or whatever. But it was like, oh my God. There he is.
Perfect ending to a Comic-Con.
It was pretty good ending for that very first day. So yeah, it was amazing. Here it is. I'm going home to watch the last 2 episodes, and here are 2 of the stars right there in my face. It was a very worthwhile thing. And again,
let me ask you a question. Did you sleep at all that night, or were you literally too wired?
Oh, way too wired. But I'm a night owl, so.
Well, that's a good moment to interject a safety notice. One of the biggest rules, not really rules, it's like a kind of unspoken, but it's something you should really take to heart when attending a multiple day convention, is no matter how wired you are and no matter how much energy you think you have and how much you don't need it, you really should not neglect sleep. Make sure you get at least 6 hours of sleep a day. Make sure you get at least 2 legitimate meals a day. Monster Energy drink, a 5-hour energy, and a protein bar does not count like a legitimate meal, and at least 1 shower a day. This is not only to maintain your energy level, because you will crash. You will crash. But when you have a large convention where people from all over the country, if not all over the world, are combining and bringing their own germs, you get what we call con crud, and it overwhelms your immune system. So you need to keep your energy up so you can keep your immune system up to fight that.
It's also a lot of people. You're gonna get hot and sweaty at some point, and really you're gonna feel good after that shower anyways. So it's in your best interest to take care of yourself. Treat yourself to that shower. Treat yourself to that coffee and that breakfast.
I believe that is what happened to you after WonderCon.
I'm still feeling a little bit of the effects, but I think I took some of that crud to the con myself, so I don't feel so bad.
It's also unfortunate after the Star Trek convention last year. I think Alec got it too. I think there were about a dozen or more cases of pneumonia.
Mm.
A couple years ago, I went to a Wizard World Comic-Con in Philadelphia, and you had lines out the door wrapping around the block at least twice. And when you got in there, well, all the vendors and stuff on the shopping area alone, it's packed. And you can feel it. It's warm. It's hot. At some point, you're going to want to step out and get some air. I mean, holy wow, is that shower welcome at the end of that day.
It's also a good idea to get an early view of the event schedule. Take the day before.
That is where I and my friends fouled up. We arrived literally, I think it was the 3rd or maybe even the 4th day in, and we had done no research. We were walk-ins. We were looking to take in the sights and sounds, but at the same time, it would have behooved us to have done a little research.
Yeah, get that program guide, see when things are, and kind of plan out what things you want to see, where you want to be at what specific time, and work some point in there to give yourself some time to find a restaurant or something. Give yourself that room, because you're gonna need that fuel for your body. Your body's an engine. You gotta keep it running.
One point I wish to make, and this is because of something that happened on the way. We were like literally 3 blocks away, and we almost missed our turn. We ended up getting clipped by somebody who was riding us a little closer than they should have been. And oh my God, thank you. There was no damage, no injuries. We exchanged insurance information, carried on about our day. But the safety tip here is when you're going to the convention, take your time. Pay attention to your surroundings when you're driving. And for God's sakes, know where you're going and how to get there so you're not literally taking the turn last second.
Yeah, give yourself a little time to get there early. So,
Yeah.
so one, you can have a good parking spot in the parking garage.
And
So even
two,
if
so you're not feeling so rushed that that you're risking an automotive accident of all things.
yeah, it's better to get there a couple hours early and be bored for a little bit than have to rush and park way the heck out in the boonies and have to fight the traffic
Yeah.
during rush hour.
Alternatively, I'd rather be a few minutes late because of missed turn than end up in the emergency room because somebody wasn't paying attention and turned the wheel a split second too late.
It's something Derek and I also are acutely aware of these freeways in Los Angeles and how people drive, or I use that term driving loosely
They
on
don't know
them.
how to drive in the rain. They really don't.
It's
And
amazing.
if you think that's bad, you should see the city dwellers in Philadelphia who clearly live there every day, and yet they don't know how to drive either.
Wow.
It,
But
it must
you're
be it
right.
must be an epidemic, really.
Well, like I said, driving is not a right; it's a privilege. So you have
Yes,
to
one
be
that can be taken away if you are not careful and respective of the rules of the road and your fellow man on that road.
exactly. You need to be polite when you're driving as well. You know,
Polite, kind, courteous, and above all, with the word safety first and foremost in your mind.
well, definitely. You know, that's a very good safety rule. You know, I always, whenever I'm driving, I like to be courteous. I feel that if I let somebody go before me, I'm not losing any time by making sure that that crazy person just got out of my way. I
And
may have,
honestly, it's the other little detail aside from personal safety at the comic conventions, driving and traveling to and from is the other little detail that's not often talked about and commented on, and it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't a rash increase of automotive accidents at about the time these comic conventions are taking place.
Well, it is nice to have your car handy, so you have like a place to keep a cooler or something like that, or a change of cosplay mid event. Sometimes it's also a good idea to find some kind of public transit, whether it be like a metro rail or a bus or something, somewhere where you can park out of the way, where you have lots of room, so that
Take a
way.
bus or take the subway to the event in question.
Yeah, so you're spending less for parking. You're
Yeah.
not having to fight all the people, putting less risk on the road. And hey, even make some contacts with some people on said bus or said train on the way.
Yeah. This subject goes hand in hand with the personal safety at the comic conventions. I know a friend of ours, Cat Sky, had Tenant cosplay, and forgive me if I mispronounce or missay it. They were talking about the comic convention personal safety, and honestly, it's something that needs to be publicized more. You know?
oh, most definitely. Most definitely. On my way to the comic book convention one day on public transportation here in Long Beach, it took about an hour to get to the Los Angeles Convention Center with the Metro Rail. But I guess for about 4 or 5 stops, there was one crazy guy who was on the train with us, and he was
There's
talking
always
to
one in the bunch somewhere.
always. I was very happy to see it when he decided to disembark the train and take his very strange conversation that he was having with himself off of the train.
How crazy was this guy, for the record?
Oh, he was swearing at nobody in particular about their affiliation with gangs. He would definitely swear every other word.
So at least several nuggets shy of a Happy Meal in short.
Oh, definitely. You know, a couple of cold fries in the box right there. He was very. I had to move away because I was in front of him at first, and so all of this sound and all of this vehemence and all of this anger and all this craziness was directed in my direction. He was loud. He was loud. Okay, there weren't that many people on the train at the time. When some people left though, I got up and moved behind him. I didn't go very far away, but I just went behind him so that
yourself from the situation.
Well, just so that the sound wasn't as loud. And then actually, like I said, he finally got off and walked away and did his own thing, and that's just fine. I mean, I don't want to, confront him or anything like that and have him go off on me. But again, he was just talking to nobody in particular, which is fine, and again, it wasn't for very long. So, taking public transportation is fine because, again, a few stops later, this really wonderful girl in her costume got on the train and we talked for about, 10, 15 minutes.
So again, mind your surroundings, be polite, be courteous, above all else, be safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be safe, and also, especially if you're on public transportation, no matter how much it bothers you that somebody else is doing something that's against the rules, just, mind your own business. It's really, there was another altercation on my way back from the last day where a girl is watching a little soap opera or something on her phone. And it was a little loud. She was sitting right next to me, but it didn't really bother me, okay? But the guy who was sitting across from me started taping her with his phone, with his camera, actually. He looked like he had been at the convention and he was photographing many people and he had a camera around his neck, but he pulled out another camera, and when this girl realized that he was filming her, she was not a happy camper. She actually got up and smacked the guy, told him to turn off the recording and delete it because she didn't want to be filmed, which was well within her rights. And actually, all she was really doing was enjoying herself, listening to a little music, watching a little program, and it was too loud for him, But instead of him saying, "Excuse me, could you turn that down?"
He turned around and got creepy.
He turned around and got creepy, like I'm going to use this as some sort of evidence against her. And she was not having it. She was not having it so much that after she smacked the guy and told him to delete it, she got off the train, right? And he had taken. Well, the thing is, he had taken all this abuse too, right? And nobody else is paying him or her any attention. They all watched it happen, just like I did. But I'm not going to get up and say, "Oh, she's right," or "He's right," or whatever. I'm just going to let it play out. All right? She was so flustered. Well, and she was so flustered afterwards. After he deleted it, she got off the train, and he says, "Well, at least she turned it off and got off."
Oh God! That's like the troll response that you want to correct the guy, but if you do, you're just feeding the troll, and you have to bite your tongue, and it's just ah.
I did. I didn't say a thing. I let him make his little comment, but in my opinion, you didn't have to take that abuse, son. Okay. You could have just
you know what it is when everybody sits there and watches and nobody does a damn thing, thinking somebody else is going to respond. It's called the bystander effect.
Well, and that's a kind of a ripple thing too. But what had happened was he was snubbed because he said to her when she first started watching, when she first sat down, he asked her, "Are you trying to download something?" Okay, when she's obviously watching a program in Spanish, okay? Well, she don't want to have anything to do with a stranger on the train, so she didn't say anything to him, okay? And when she jumped up and realized that he was recording her, she started talking to him, and he pretended like he didn't hear her. "Oh, I can't hear you. What did you say?" "Oh, I can't hear you." He was so hurt that she snubbed him, okay? Come on, man. You don't just, You don't just talk to a young lady like that on the train without some sort of preamble. Are you trying to download something? Do you know how to talk to people, dude? Obviously he didn't, and that's what got him in trouble. If he had just said, hey, excuse me, ma'am, that seems a little loud to me. Can I ask you to turn down your television program? You know, and she might not have gone off at all. She might have just turned it down, and that'd have been it.
Don't be filming someone. Don't be trying to get the upper hand. Just communicate. You know, I mean, simple, honest, direct communication. Don't throw little subtle hints to make people think like if I just give them this stare for a while, they'll get it. If I just say it in this way, they'll get it. No, just be direct and say what you mean.
Yeah. Well, yeah, him asking if she were trying to download something made it seem like he was trying to talk at her, get with her, or anything like that. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore this guy and I'm going to continue watching my show. And if he had said, hey, could you please turn that down? You know, then she might have gone ahead and been a little bit more receptive. So, you know, people need to learn how to communicate with one another, and they forget that sort of thing sometimes. When I'm at the convention and I'm trying to get people to notice what we're doing at the booth, I'm Mr. Friendly. I'm like, hey, come over here. Would you like to check this out? They're walking past. Hey, would you like to see what we're doing here? You know, they're very receptive. And if they're not, they politely say, no, I don't have time, and they keep walking. And you don't say, oh, well, that's just rude. You don't say anything like that, okay? You just kind of let them do what they're going to do. That's their total right. They're having a good time at their convention. They may not want to be bothered with the next webisode of XYZ, you know? They want to go and see Richard Hatch. They want to go and see Sybil Danning. They want to go and see Lou Ferrigno. They want to go to their panel. They want to buy something. They're not interested in certain things, and you have to just respect how people are flowing.
I do think it is a good idea for conventions to have a panel on day one, preferably early, like right after opening ceremonies. There's basically outlining simple convention etiquette. So not only people know things that they may not, but for those who are new to conventions, to help make their experience more enjoyable, and so they know how to interact with other people, so other people enjoy their convention as well. But also the safety things, like you mentioned, the food, the shower, the sleep kind of thing. But also, especially, and I'm going to give a shameless plug to the group they were promoting on the interview before. For those in cosplay, you must not only respect their wishes to have fun in this amazing costume, whether they purchased it or made it themselves, but also in that if you have say, for example, a female in a sexy costume, this is not a license to fondle. It doesn't give you the right to touch and or abuse. Whether you think you're perfectly innocent, they might not think so. And there is... in
other words, if they're wearing a Princess Leia costume, that's not an invitation to go up and paw at them like they're some piece of prime rib beef. Treat them like the human being they are. Respect what they're trying to do and go about your business. It is okay to look, but not to touch.
Yeah, what was the name of the group? I believe it's called Haven. Am I right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, they're a group that's trying to spread out internationally to where whether you can not really devote, but you can offer your booth or corner of the convention or promote as a safe place for those who feel overwhelmed in a convention or feel like they're being abused or funneled, somewhere where they can like relax in safety if they feel like if they feel like it's too much, or if they're just having a panic attack from just too much, not used to so much activity. It's a nice group, I think, that can help make people who are adjusting to convention life or feel they weren't adequately prepared for it, or if they're just around others that are being overly friendly or overly hostile.
Well, you know, the old saying is take a picture that lasts longer.
Yeah. Now, for taking a picture is nice too, but also ask for permission first. But even then, sometimes don't just go up for a picture. Just keep a respectful distance, but open up just a dialogue. You know, I mean, in asking for permission to take a picture, maybe ask them how they're enjoying the convention, or how they came into a fandom, or if they created a costume themselves. Compliment them on the craftsmanship of the costume, not how hot they look in it, but how well their work has gone into what they created. And one great thing about cosplay is, I mean, I know some people don't have the craftsmanship ability to make their own; they buy it instead. But a lot of people take pride, like myself. I don't wear a store-bought costume. I make everything that I wear, and it is a sense of pride in when I create something that looks so good that people think it's official. So people love to be complimented on the work they did. So sometimes it's more meaningful to just converse rather than touch, hug, grope, snap picture, get in their face. You know, have a good time by being empathetic of the other person having a good time in their own.
If you want to get in close with somebody like that, say, "Hey, is it okay if I take a picture with you?"
Yes.
Be polite. They may say yes if you ask. Of course, they may say no, but you're respecting them by asking them.
It's my I've learned by doing, and I took over 300 photographs this weekend, and I learned that most of the time, all you have to do is ask, "May I take your photograph?" And not only will you be able to get that photograph, but you'll be able to, they'll grab their prop if they have one, they'll pose for you, okay? And if you think she looks really hot or whatever, and you want to take her photograph with her or with him, ask. And because people are really cool about that, you know? Personally, I don't like to get into somebody's space so much where I'm putting my arm around them, okay? But, you know, I'll still take a picture next to them or close to them or whatever, but I don't try to get into that personal space with somebody because I just feel that that's kind of, you know, they kind of have to initiate, "Oh, well, I'm gonna put my arm around you." Okay, well, then I'll put my arm around you too, you know? But again, you guys are you're gentlemen, and you're absolutely right. You know, no matter how much she's exposing with this wonderful costume she's made, this isn't the opportunity for you to grope or anything like that. These people have taken time. They're very happy. They're very proud with their costumes. And my experience with most conventions is people are aware of that. I don't think I saw anybody trying to take advantage of any other person while I was at the convention this last time. There was this one gal who had, I mean, she was amazing looking, but she had on this really short Harlequin, you know, little short shorts on, and just, you know, and the big mallet and everything. And she'd passed by me, and I asked to take her photograph. She posed for me. She walked 2 steps, and there were, you know, like 3 guys with cameras. And, "Hey, can you hold on for a second?" And you could just hear the clicks going off. And she was eating it up, but nobody touched her, you know. She was fine, and very happy to pose for them. Very happy.
I mention it. I mention it not because it's a big problem. It is actually, in the overall scheme of how many people are there and how long you spend with so many different people, it is very rare for things like that to happen. But a lot of times, in fact, I dare say most of the time, it's not anything that's intentional with any malice. I mean, some people think they're being perfectly fine gentleman or gentle lady, not getting it up in anyone's face. But sometimes a person, that one straw that breaks the camel's back, and they feel either either they're space violated or overwhelmed by all the attention, or just something doesn't feel right at the time. So just be aware of signal, like if they look unhappy in the least, or if they look like they're moving away. It's usually a good hint that they're trying to either get somewhere or had enough, and just it's a big convention, but you might bump into them again when they're feeling better. Just let them go about their business, and maybe you'll come back to it. If not, if by letting them proceed, you've made a good impression. Maybe they'll come back to you later and felt sorry for brushing you off. We can pick up where we left off. I just wasn't feeling it at the time. Keep your eyes open to that, and especially when it comes to costumes they're wearing, be aware of what's in your hand or on your hands. Whether it's a costume they purchased, it costs a lot of money, or it's a costume they made, it's cost them a lot of time. Be aware of that.
Definitely,
Above all else, be very, very polite and respectful of where exactly your hands go if you are given permission to touch.
And in the case of you and me, Derek, our uniforms that we wear are even a bit more than that. They're not just costumes we've worked very hard on, but they mean something. They are something that where we not only show off our love of Star Trek, but they, at least for me, wearing a Starfleet uniform carries with it what Starfleet and the Federation represents. The brotherhood, the spirit of exploration, the spirit of cooperation, and that is, if anything, the best thing to promote, and why I want to keep it in pristine fashion, so I can promote that as much as possible.
Well, when I first found Starfleet, I was at a convention, and I saw this gentleman in his Starfleet uniform with his pips on his collar, and I asked him, and this goes right to what you're saying, Rex. There's so much that goes along with a Starfleet uniform, especially, that me as a stranger, as a total novice to it, I asked him, where did you get that uniform? How did you get that rank? And he told me about Starfleet. And that's when I realized, anybody can go ahead and get the uniform. Anybody can go ahead and put the amount of pips on their collar that they want to go ahead and represent themselves as. And you'll see a lot of people who want to be captain or higher for some reason or another, okay? But when you've gone into an organization like Starfleet, you can do things to actually earn that rank that you have on your collar. And that gives you even more pride of accomplishment, because you've taken the exams, you've taken the time to go ahead and put yourself into that position, so that when you're standing there and you've got the little ribbons or the little device on your chest, or you've got the pips on your collar, you know that you can go to the website later on and see all of the awards, all of the different exams, everything that you've done to get to that point.
And it also shows to those who know what they mean and are part of the organization, shows to them the devotion that you've put into it. And it is also a testament to yourself and your character.
Well, exactly. Some of these exams actually hold real-world relevance. In taking some of these exams in personal development, I've learned how to become a good leader, somebody that people are actually looking up to in a certain way. When I started the Hawking, I had control of the Marine detachment on board the Golden Gate, and I had about 15, 20 members all follow me to a correspondence chapter. They left the meeting chapter and came with me because they liked me, because I had a certain je ne sais quoi. Maybe it was because I was fair, I was a good leader, or I was easy to talk to. Whatever those qualities were that made them want to go ahead and say, well, I like David, but I'm going to go with Derek. I had all but one guy come with us.
Wow.
So,
and it's not about rating members from other people's chapters. It is a fan group, and they're there to have as much fun with it as they can. So sometimes I guess some people can get a little put off by members leaving from one chapter to another, but I'd like to think most would have the wherewithal to realize it's not about like snubbing anyone. It's not about saying, "Oh, I don't want to be part of you." It's about, no, I feel this is more advantageous for me to go over here. It's great all the time I had with you, and I learned a lot from it. Just moving on.
Well, I always tell people, if they're interested in joining Starfleet, to take a look to find a meeting chapter near them. That's the first thing I tell everybody who I encounter. Hey, take a look at a meeting chapter, okay? If those people are getting together, they're actually getting together with one another because of their love for science fiction, for Star Trek, whatever. If you find that you don't want to join that chapter, then please come to us as a correspondence chapter. We'd be welcome to have you. We'd love to have you. But find yourself a meeting chapter, please, and go and have fun with those folks. I have a good friend. He's in Reno. I said to him, Robert, check out, the local chapter there in Nevada, okay? He says, you know what? I didn't like them. I'd rather be with you. Thanks, Robert. Great. I had a guy, he's in San Francisco. I'd known him from my first days in Starfleet. He had joined another club that didn't require you to join or to pay a membership or anything. And he moved to San Francisco, and I said, Aaron, find David, join his crew, become a member of his crew. You'll have a lot more fun, And he said, so you know what? I like David. I contacted him. Bam, I'm a member of his crew. No offense against you, Derek, but I wanted to be a member of a meeting chapter. I said, that's why I told you, find David. Here's his email address. Go.
Now, a question I have is, what could one be in multiple chapters officially, or do you have to be in only one?
Oh, that's a good question, and the answer is you have to choose one chapter to be in for the database, but you can participate with any other chapter that will have you come and participate with them. So for you, Rex, let's say you enjoy being part of the Hawking and you've got that as your chapter of record. But then you contact Dave Mason, the CEO of the USS Angeles, and you say, hey, Dave, I'd really like to, join your Facebook group. I'm part of Starfleet, and I want to see what kind of away missions you go on and what kind of things you're doing, and I'd like to participate. And Dave will say yes, and you can be an honorary member of another chapter. No problem. And if you ever want to go ahead and say, well, you know what, Derek, I want to change my chapter of record to the Angelus, well, Derek's going to say, Rex, go have fun, and please keep checking in with us because you're still a member of us. You're part of our family as well.
And I can't wait to start digging into all this stuff, and it all starts on April 9th at Yuri's Night. I have been excited beyond belief, and I can't wait to be part of my first away mission.
You're going to have a great deal of fun, and it actually, you can have things kick off and start for you as soon as you're finished with this. If you decide to log in at Starfleet Academy, look through their list of exams, and decide that you want to go ahead and take an exam on one of your favorite movies or television shows. Let's see, there's a whole thing on James Bond movies. I've taken a couple of exams on Star Trek, the animated series. and you can start growing your academic record. One of the things that I forgot to mention is you do get an award for every 50 exams that you take. There's a Boothby Award. It starts off with the bronze level and goes all the way up to like the dilithium level after you've taken so many exams. I am the director of a couple of these colleges, and as a director of a college, you can see somebody's academic record. And I used to think I was hot stuff by having over 200 exams that I'd taken. There are people out there who've been members longer than I have, who've taken almost every exam there is, and there are over 3,000.
Is there a spaceflight history one in there?
You'd have to take a look. If there isn't, I would suggest that you contact the Commandant of Starfleet Academy and suggest it, and become the director of it by, creating exams for it. You don't even have to make a manual. You can just direct people to the information, because you can get everything on the internet now. Yeah. And if there is a college of spaceflight history, then come up with an exam for it. And all of these things count, okay? They all count towards your advancement as a more senior officer. I look at various things as I'm promoting someone in my ranks. So, what do you do in real life? People don't have the time always to spend taking fun little brain teasers. But if you do, then more power to you, and I'm going to give you credit for that. Right now, I'm taking an exam in another fan club. Maybe I should go ahead and give a shout out to them too, because I don't feel that I feel that Star Trek is a platform, but those people who like Doctor Who, Star Wars, who like cosplay, who like writing, who like real science, who like science history, everybody is welcome, everybody is involved. And when I was at the convention, I became a member of the Battlestar Galactica fan club, and I'm now taking an exam on how to be a Raptor pilot.
Nice. Well, Mr. Derek Allen, this has been a very wonderful and stimulating conversation, and I'm learning so much about it and can't wait to progress in the ranks, as it were. Thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
We would, of course, be happy to have you on again, of course.
Anytime you wish.
Anytime. Fantastic.
So yes, this has been a conversation with the commander of the local chapter of Starfleet, the International Fan Association of Star Trek. And we look forward to the great things that come from that. Heck, if anything happens with yours truly, I'll be certainly promoting that as well. And keep looking forward to that. We will, of course, see you all again for Yuri's Night. Hopefully we'll have some more great material for you there. This is K1 of RadiOdyssey, 50 Years of Space, with my co-host Raiderman. Once again, thank you, Derek Allen.
You're welcome. Thank you.